You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I'm going to be flying solo for y'all today. But never fear, we are here to help y'all get every bit of information you need and help you out with whatever questions, concerns that you may have for your fantasy lineups here heading into the week one kickoff here. So it should be an absolute blast here. Cannot wait to really rock and roll this one here today. Gonna be a lot of fun, right? Like we're really kicking things off here, all of that good stuff. And so, when you're looking at that, we've got a couple of comments coming in here. Football's here, absolutely leadership lessons. Stack saying let's tailgate, and then it's time for some football. Absolutely, right? Like this is always one of my favorite time of years when it comes down to it. And we've got lots of things out there. The inactive list just starting to hit here, and we're going to kind of be walking through some of that with y'all. Of course, if you guys have any questions or comments, anything like that, throw them out there in the chat. Let's talk through it. Let's help you guys get set as far as your lineups go for today. So, looking at it, we've Michael Thomas was one that folks were a little curious about on what was going to happen with him. Was he going to play? Was he not going to play? Just got the looking at the reports there. It looks like he is officially active on this one. So that's a good sign for the Saints there. J.K. Dobbins looks like he is officially ruled out. Dearness Johnson officially ruled out there as well. Did get a question coming in here as well. Question coming in: if you need if you need a flex for today, would you play Josh Jacobs versus Mike Williams? Who to put in? That's a good one there. Let's go ahead and kind of go to our rankings here. We've got Josh Jacobs ranked as the 17th overall running back there. We've got Mike Williams right now ranked as the 17th overall wide receiver. So definitely a bit of a toughie there. Looking at it, Mike Williams playing the Vegas Raiders playing the Chargers there as well. I don't necessarily trust the Josh Daniels running back scheme and how they typically use the running backs. From what we've seen of him as an offensive coordinator over there with New England, right? Like it was always kind of a hot hand type of deal, things like that. Do I think Josh Jacobs will get some work? Absolutely. I think he'll be all right. It'll be in a running back 2 type of territory, but that this game I have a feeling is going to be a bit more of a shootout to it, to the point where we may see the quarterback step in a little bit more. We may see a lot more passing attempts going on there. So not going to surprise me if we see if we see Mike Williams put up more points here. And so it's one of those two that when you start looking at your fantasy lineups, how do you want to do that, right? There is some of that is going to depend upon what you need as far as your fantasy lineup goes, right? Do you need a higher ceiling? Do you need a higher floor? Josh Jacobs probably provides the higher floor, whereas Mike Williams will provide the higher ceiling, and Mike Williams a little bit more boom bust type of potential this week here as well. So that's how I'm going to kind of leave that one. Is I'm going to leave it with if you're projected to kind of win and I'm going to go with the safer floor player there. If I'm needing a little bit of firepower and I need to make up some ground because of some of the matchups in the rest of my fantasy roster there, I'm going to go with the Mike Williams there. So, that's kind of where we're at there. Again, if you guys have any questions or comments, anything like that, go ahead and throw them into the chat. Love getting the interaction, love getting the conversation rolling there. And let's talk about what moves you need to make for your fantasy lineups out there. Alrighty, so let's start kind of looking at some of these other things as we start seeing some of these reports really kind of start rolling in here, going through, right? So when we look at the running backs, right, like you still got Ken Walker. I'm shying away from that one. Even if he plays tonight, I don't see him getting much of a workload. He's still coming off that hernia injury. I think Rashad Penny's full go, and I think he's one that can absolutely kind of shine for you. Kind of top 10 running backs rankings this week as far as how I kind of got that going. Jonathan Taylor 1, Christian McCaffrey 2, Derrick Henry 3, Austin Eckler number 4, Joe Mixon 5, Dalvin Cook 6, Najee Harris 7, Alvin Kamara number 8, DeAndre Swift 9, and Aaron Jones number 10. Let's go ahead and head on over into the wide receivers here. We'll kind of look at the top 10 as far as how I kind of see that one today. Cooper Kupp already played. I had him ranked as number 1 this week. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Those are all, set it and forget it, locked in your lineups. Devontae Adams, I had as the 4th wide receiver this week. Stephon Diggs already locked in at the, I had him locked in as the 5 wide receiver this week. CeeDee Lamb 6, Debo Samuel 7, Mike Evans 8, Keenan Allen 9, AJ Brown number 10, kind of rounding out the top 10 for me. Do have a question coming in over here on the YouTube from Sohan. What do you think about this trade, Devontae Smith and Cordero Patterson for J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne? I think that you got. I personally like the J.K. Dobbins and Etienne side a lot on that one. I've got Travis Etienne ranked as a top 10 running back finish this year for season long. So I think that you got a heck of a deal on that one. J.K. Dobbins, if he plays, he's in an offense that can be electric and can do some very big things there. Devonta Smith is kind of quietly disregarded in a lot of the fantasy space with A.J. Brown coming over, right? There's a lot of reports out there that Jalen Hurts has really been working on the accuracy, and we can certainly see him potentially take a big leap forward in this one, and has the wide receiver core in order to do that. Cordero Patterson, I think he will certainly do some big things there. But again, I'm going to have a hard time believing that he necessarily returns your top 10 type of fantasy value for you season long. So J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, a little bit more, a little bit more risky with J.K. Dobbins, not being ready to go here week 1. And, we don't know what the timetable really is for that one. But as far as your trade goes, very much like the J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne side of that. Another question coming in here from Leroy over on YouTube. Julio or A.J. Green as a flex. The opponent has Kyler Murray as a quarterback. So this is one of those that it's very interesting, the case of A.J. Green, right? Like A.J. Green, no longer the player that we've seen in the past, right? He's a guy that's going to have about a 50% catch rate and is going to catch the ball somewhere around 15 yards down the field. So it comes down to how much do you think that they're going to necessarily kind of target him and go that route there. Because if he gets 8 targets, he's probably going to walk away with 4 receptions for somewhere around 50 to 65 yards, somewhere probably in there. I don't like the touchdown upside on that one. So I'm not necessarily looking huge that way. Julio, on the other hand, right? Chris Godwin looks like he's going to play today. But I am very interested to see if he's still going to be on a bit of a pitch count there. It wouldn't surprise me to see Tampa Bay kind of go that route for Chris Godwin. Russell Gage coming off of a hamstring injury on this one. And while it looks like he's projected to go, I don't necessarily see them pushing him that much. And we've kind of long held the belief here on the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast that Julio will end up kind of floating in the middle and will end up soaking up a lot of the targets that were going to Gronk last year. And so I think that you're going to be in store for Julio having a pretty big game today. And I think that he's going to run a lot more kind of shorter, intermediate type of routes than necessarily what we've seen him do a lot in the past, and see him definitely getting a lot of work kind of over the middle there. So I think Julio is going to be the play on this one. If I'm going through and doing those deals, I'm absolutely putting Julio in over AJ Green for my roster. Leroy, thanks for the question. Same with Sohan. Thanks for the question there. Pretty sure this first time I've seen you guys in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate seeing new folks in the chat there. All of that good stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the tight ends here. Again, guys, if you have questions, concerns, anything like that for your fantasy roster, let's throw them out. Let's talk through them. Let's help you guys get ready and prepared. It's all about cash and trophies in the march to those today. So let's make some things happen here. Alrighty, week one, as far as my rankings go on this one, I got Mark Andrews. I think he's going to be in for a very big matchup, very big game here against the Jets. Travis Kelce, number 2. Darren Waller, number 3. Darren Waller looks like he's active. Darren Waller gives me a little bit of concern there, just from the standpoint he missed so much of camp with an injury there. Kyle Pitts, number 4. Kyle Pitts should have a big game, but the New Orleans pass defense has played Atlanta very tough. This matchup has been a very tough one for both organizations over the last few years there. So, but Kyle Pitts should still have a very big game. George Kittle is kind of the interesting one, right? Like, originally had him slated to really kind of be my number 5 wide receiver here. Still haven't gotten a full-on confirmation at this point if George Kittle is going to play or not. I'm going to trend that he is not going to play. So if you've got George Kittle there, I'm making other moves there, right? Not only that game in Chicago is going to be a rough one. Looks like they have got a little bit cooler weathers expected there. Looking like some, anywhere from about a half inch to, I've seen reports up to 1.5 inches of rain falling during game time on that one. And some other reports showing that the Bears recently had shoulder field resodded on this one. So you could see that turn into kind of a mud pit and, definitely affect the speed of the game there a little bit. That would bump Dallas Goedert up in my rankings. I think he's in store for a good game. Dalton Schultz, I think, is going to have a pretty good game here as well. Hawkinson, Freiermuth, and I did have Dawson Knox locked in as my kind of 10th overall wide receiver there. But since we're going to move George Kittle out of that, that's going to end up bumping Zach Ertz up into that spot there as well. An honorable mention, somebody that, we've been having lots of folks going, well, what's a guy that I could potentially try and go with for George Kittle? And looks like reports just came through. George Kittle officially ruled out here. So we're going to go ahead and kind of call our shot on, for folks out there, who in the world do I put in for George Kittle if I need to go stream the wire real quick, if I need to add somebody off the waiver wire. David Njoku available in a lot of leagues out there. And we are seeing a pretty good week coming up for David Njoku, and that would be kind of our streaming candidate for this week if you need to go that route to go for a streaming one. So like it there. Let's go ahead and take a look here at quarterbacks here real quick. As far as this one goes, Lamar Jackson had him ranked as QB1 on the week. Kyler, number 2. Patrick Mahomes, number 3. Jalen Hurts got him locked in as number 4. Josh Allen, I had him locked in as 5. Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady is 6, 7, 8. Joe Burrow is 9, and Trey Lance was originally 10. We're gonna bump Trey Lance down a little bit, and with moving him down, we're gonna actually move Aaron Rodgers kind of up into that number 10 spot for the week there. Again, guys, right? That game in Chicago has the potential to be very sloppy, very messy, and it would not surprise me to see that become kind of a ground and pound and more of a defensive type of struggle there. That grass could get sloppy there real quick. So temper some expectations there for pass catchers in that Chicago and San Francisco game. However, I do really like the running options on for these teams here, right? So I do think Elijah Mitchell will get a fair bit of work. I do think David Montgomery will get a lot of work here. And, we still may see Trey Lance and Justin Fields return some value for fantasy, but if they do, it's going to come far more off of the legs than necessarily the arm. So lots of good things there as well. Guys, again, any questions that you may have for your fantasy rosters, let's go ahead and throw those out there and really kind of rock and roll through these questions and help you guys get your lineups set there. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the questions, potentially over here on like the YouTube channel, things like that. So one of the questions that we had coming in the other night, right, was any concerns about Swift at the Eagles and their front seven? No, I don't. I've got Travis Etienne ranked ranked as a top 10 running back this week, even with that Philadelphia front seven. The Eagles have gone out there and done some very good things as far as their defense is concerned. Even with their offense, they've done some very good things there as well. However, DeAndre Swift is not necessarily going to need to get all of his points on the ground and be able to run the ball in order to score you lots of fantasy points because Jared Goff tends to check the ball down quite a bit. DeAndre Swift is an excellent pass-catching running back, so not going to surprise me to see DeAndre Swift get a fair bit of work on both the ground and on the and through the air there as well, and be able to get some fantasy relevance that way as well. Another question kind of coming in under the same vein. Had the RBs of Swift, Fournette, and Aaron Jones on that one. Right now I kind of want to see what Tampa Bay's our offensive line looks like and how they're going to protect both Tom Brady and set up the ground game there. I think Aaron Jones is going to get a ton of work, especially with Alan Lazard being very questionable for this game here. So you could see Aaron Jones get a ton of passing work here as well. As far as my rankings go, I've got DeAndre Swift, then Aaron Jones, then Leonard Fournette out there. So that's going to be the route that I'd be looking to go as well. Another comment coming in over here on the YouTube. Madeline saying hi. Hello, Madeline. Welcome into the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. We are live today doing the question and answers, the start sits, all of that good stuff for your fantasy lineups here. And question coming in from Madeline: Landry or Amari Cooper for the flex? This is a good one, right? So there's some things out there that I am a little bit out on Amari Cooper this week. One, I think that's going to be a little bit lower scoring game there. And while New Orleans and Atlanta are going to play each other tough, one of the calls one of my co-hosts made earlier this week is he is a big believer in a Jarvis Landry anytime touchdown as far as a player prop goes in this one. I don't think you're going to see Amari Cooper get into the end zone. So that's how I'm going to separate those things out there. I do think that you're going to get probably pretty similar production from both of them as far as, receptions, yards, things like that. But the Jarvis Landry, I do think is going to find the end zone on this one as well. And that's going to move him up ahead of Amari Cooper as far as a flex for me this week. Great question. Appreciate you throwing that out there, Madeline. Again, guys, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, as far as your, let's go. Let's help you guys get your lineup set, get you guys ready to rock and roll for fantasy this week here. Again, we still got some reports kind of trickling in here as far as, some, potential lineups here going. And so looking at it, Laviska Shenault officially ruled out. No surprise there. Velus Jones also officially ruled out of that game in Chicago. Velus Jones probably wasn't going to see much in the way of passing work, things like that, but he, potentially was going to see a lot of special teams work out there. So anybody that was in a lineup where you're, looking for some special teams type of thing, make sure that you've got Velus Jones Jr. out of your lineups there. So lots of Denzel Mims. I'm getting the report that he's going to be inactive there as well. If you were relying on Denzel Mims to start for you, you are either in an incredibly deep league where you're starting, 15, 20 guys, or you've got your fantasy draft went incredibly poor for you. Either way, Denzel Mims should not be in your lineup. Make sure that you move him out. Tyler Algier also getting officially ruled out of that game down there between New Orleans and Atlanta. So, that actually points up there a little bit for Cordell Patterson this week. Tyrion Davis-Price ruled out. Dearness Johnson ruled out. Trey Sermon ruled out there. None of those really any big surprises there. Those were all going to be third or fourth string running backs for the roster. So while those necessarily weren't injury-related sits, those are going to be roster construct and teams taking in, not taking in players that aren't going to really see any movement on those deals. So Pierre Strong Jr. also ruled out on that one as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's take a look here at some of the kind of 11 through 12 as far as some of these rankings go, as far as I'm seeing this, right? We'll start with the running backs out here. And before we get there, Madeline, I just saw your comment come in there. Appreciate that, Madeline, saying that thank you, and that we've got a new subscriber on the YouTube channel. Madeline, very much appreciate that. Guys, that is one of the best ways to help support this independent podcast is to hop onto the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button. We are trying to make the push for some monetization there. Need about 300 subscribers left to go on that one. And again, right, we bring all the content to you for free and do everything that we can to try and help you guys win. So one of the best ways to support us, subscribe to the YouTube. Appreciate it. Question coming in from Jesus Man over there, or Jesus Man. Thomas or Robert Woods? This is a really good question out there. I do think Robert Woods is going to get a fair bit of work on this one. Michael Thomas is officially active in this one. He had the reports coming out of training camp practice shows that he has been playing very, very well there. I've got Michael Thomas ranked as wide receiver number 19. Robert Woods, not as bullish. I see him kind of as a wide receiver 3 this week. So kind of right there in and around wide receiver 30 type of thing. So I've got Michael Thomas ranked higher. And on the Pine and Shine show, on our Tuesday show, in the Pine and Shine segment, I did call for Michael Thomas to have a pretty good game. I think there's a really good chance you see him falling in the end zone. I think there's a really good chance he's going to see about 9 to 10 targets. I think he's going to come away with about 6 to 7 receptions. And I think you're going to see him kind of very comfortably kind of squeeze into about 75 to 80 yards on this game. And I do think that he falls into the end zone. So I'm a believer in Michael Thomas this week. I know that kind of goes against the grain of what some of the fantasy consensus would tell you, but I do think that Michael Thomas is going to have a pretty good game. And Robert Woods is not as far removed from that injury as I would necessarily like. I want to see a couple of things kind of going into that lower ranking, right? Like, I'm a big fan of Bobby Trees. I love what he does on the field. I think he's a great football player, but there's a couple of things that affected my ranking this week on him. One, I want to see what this Tennessee offense looks like, with him in there and without AJ Brown in there. What does that truly look like? I want to see some of that, and I want to see Robert Woods, how he looks back onto the field, simply from the standpoint we're on a shorter window of a player coming back from an ACL type of injury. Typically speaking, most of the time, when players really come back, we see them about 9 months to a year removed before we really kind of see them back into that. Robert Woods is closer to about the 7 to 8 month mark there. So, excuse me, guys, we're going to get a drink here real quick. So Robert Woods, a little bit on the quicker comeback side of that thing. I think he's going to be excellent for you for your fantasy roster this year. I think he's going to be an excellent value from where you drafted him week 1. I want to see what he's going to do in that one. But Jesus Man, Jesus Man, thank you very much for the question. Again, I think this is the first time I've seen you in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. Guys, again, whatever questions you got, let's go ahead and throw them out there. We're going to be on here for about another 5 to 10 minutes. Let's get you guys rocking and rolling and help you guys get your lineup set there. Real quick, we're going to go through some wide receiver rankings as far as kind of how I see them. Wide receivers 11 through 20. I got Michael Pittman, Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore as 11, 12, 13, 14. Deontay Johnson, 15. T. Higgins as number 16. Mike Williams as 17. Jalen Waddle, number 18. Michael Thomas, I've got as number 19. And Terry McLaurin as rounding out my top 20. We'll go ahead and take a look here real quick at the running backs here and kind of get through numbers 11 through 20. I had Nick Chubb, number 11, Leonard Fournette, number 12, Saquon, number 13, James Conner. I've got him as the 14th, Javonte Williams, 15. Zeke, I've got him as the 16th running back. Josh Jacobs, number 17. We did lock Cam Akers in there at number 18. That's going to be a ouchie. No, thank you. Bad call on our part there. David Montgomery, number 19, and Elijah Mitchell as number 20 right there. So that's kind of how we round out our top 20. Take a look at tight ends. Again, guys, if you're getting into tight ends and you're having to look 11 through 20, unless it's a start to type of league, we need to talk about streaming tight ends, things like that as far as your roster go. But 11, I've got Cole Kmet. Number 12, David Njoku. Hunter Henry, number 13, Albert O. Number 14, Mike Gesicki. Number 15, Robert Tonyan. 16, Gerald Everett. 17, Irv Smith Jr. Number 18, Noah Fant. Number 19, and Logan Thomas rounding out at number 20. We'll slide on over here to the quarterbacks and take a look at kind of 11 through 20 quarterback-wise. 11, Derek Carr. 12, Dak. 13, Trey Lance. We did move Trey Lance down our rankings here earlier this morning due to some of that weather issue out there. Matt Stafford, we had him locked in at number 14. Kirk Cousins, number 15. Jameson Winston, number 16. Justin Fields, number 17. Baker Mayfield, 18. Trevor Lawrence, 19. And Matt Ryan as number 20 out there. So that's how we're seeing our quarterback rankings there. Again, guys, right? Some of y'all are playing Superflex where these rankings are going to make a world of difference. Some of these rankings won't mean much to you because of the fact that you're in a single quarterback league. And if you're having to try and play some of these guys that we got ranked down there, it's going to be a little bit tougher. And if you're, or you went late quarterback there, nothing wrong with going late quarterback off your drafts. And we can certainly stream that position. And I think there's some very good streaming candidates out there for you. I really like Baker going up against Cleveland, right? Baker has been a very, very stellar fantasy player when he plays with a chip on his shoulder. And I think that you're going to see him playing like a man possessed today. Jameis Winston, another good move out there that I could see that one. Kirk Cousins, I think he's going to have a phenomenal game this one here. And I think that he's got a very, very high ceiling. Part of the reason he was down there where I have him ranked was simply the fact that I don't see, while his ceiling was high, I see a little bit safer floor with some of the other players there and kind of went that route there. Again, guys, if you got any questions, anything like that, we'll take a couple of more here before we call it a day. And so, guys, you can find all of our rankings over at goodoldboysff.com. Right there, you can see the website. Good Old Boys FF, we've got our weekly rankings up there. You can see our draft rankings up there. Starting next week, we're going to start bringing the waiver wire rankings out there to help you guys get that going. We do three live shows for y'all during the week when we're in season here, right? We go Tuesday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. We're talking kind of recapping the week before the week that just happened. We're talking waiver wires. We're talking pines. We're talking shines. We're talking about, getting the initial steps going for fantasy success early in the week there. Then when we get to the Friday shows, you got Kevin and I really rocking and rolling, going through each game and each slate of games there on that one, and kind of really going through and giving out some player props, going through some different types of things out there as well. Speaking of one of the calls that I made on the Friday show, going to make an amendment to that. I did have Trey Lance on hitting the over on his passing attempts. I am amending that one, and I'm actually taking that one off of my board as far as my picks go. Again, that one there, I think that is going to be a messy, sloppy, weather-filled type of game there, so I'm actually calling that one off. But you can see all of our picks, our player props, things like that, things we're really liking on those ones on the Friday show. All of these available on the YouTube if you can't get tuning in on the live shows. Friday nights we go live 11 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, we got this show, the Sunday Morning Tailgate for fantasy football here, helping you guys get ready to rock and roll for all your fantasy questions, helping you set your lineup, start sits, all of that good stuff. And we do this show Sunday morning starting 11:30 a.m. Another comment coming in here on the YouTube. Bill, good seeing you in the chat here again, Bill. Always appreciate you tuning in to the live streams. Smash the like button. Absolutely, guys. Again, if you can hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. The YouTube is one of the best places to help support this independent podcast. Help us out there. You can check out several of our articles, several of our works on our website there as well, goodoldboysff.com. And you can find us on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch at goodoldboysff. That's GOODOLDBOYSFF, Good Old Boys FF on that. And the website, goodoldboysff.com, the YouTube channel, the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. Guys, if there aren't any other questions out there, that's going to kind of bring us down here to the end of it. I appreciate everybody throwing out their questions, tuning in. If you have any other questions, you can hit us up on the socials. You can hit us up on the YouTube community page. Throw out your start-sit questions, all of that here very shortly. We've got about an hour before kickoff. Let's go ahead and rock and roll, right? Let's have some fun on this one. Let's get this thing really set, ready to go, and make this march towards cash and trophies. Guys, appreciate everybody tuning in here, but that's going to do it for us. Again, if you have any questions, Good Old Boys FF on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Throw your questions at us. Let us help you get your lineup set, all that good stuff. And you can throw it on the YouTube channel, the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. Be sure to click that subscribe button. One of the best ways to support this independent podcast. Thanks a lot for everybody tuning in. Again, any questions, throw them out there. I'm Derek, signing off. Have a good one. Be safe.